Yes, my G's. In today's video, I'm going to show you a bit of drum programming and also drum processing for creating a drum and bass beat using an acoustic drum kit sound, which is from a virtual instrument, which is pre-sampled acoustic recordings of drum hits. You could use anything for this. You could use Superior Drummer. You could use something from Contact. There's lots of other free drum VSTs that you could use. I'm just using the built-in one in Logic Pro, which is pretty good actually for a built-in drum kit. And let's have a little listen to the beat that I've made. I've just put a little bit of sort of a lead along with it as well. Just a simple lead, but let's hear the drums on their own, and you can sort of see the kind of vibe I'm going for. So nice DNB loop, all acoustic, BPM at 172, and let's have a look. Firstly, I'll quickly mute all the processing, which is fairly straightforward. And we'll just look at the MIDI programming. It's really great here because it actually shows you the exact, you can see the exact, sounds that I've used here. I'll just make sure that my face isn't getting in the way of all of this because I know where my face is on the video. But yes, so what I've done is I've programmed in a bunch of stuff. Okay, and let's walk through the programming first, the MIDI stuff. So I've done a kick on a two-step pattern. So on the first beat always, and then what is it here on this in the first bar again. It's on the third. No, it's not the third beat, is it? It's 3.5. Yeah, it's on the one. Sort of on the very first beat, and then it's on 3.5. That's classic kick pattern, right, for drum and bass. I will mention as well, all of the notes that I've used, I've done velocity adjustments. So the first kick is at 80, the second one is slightly louder at 84, just so there's a slight difference, and the length of the notes is slightly different as well, okay? Most virtual drum kits, they have like velocity adjustment, like the velocity will generally change the sample, so it's important that it's useful because you can add a human variation as well, I'm doing everything on the grid today. If I wanted to go really humanized, I could have all these MIDI notes slightly off the grid. That would also work, you could get a more natural sound that way. But for this tutorial, everything's on the grid. It still sounds fine, This is the snare then, and same thing. Well, this just sits on always the second beat and then the fourth beat always, So the snare is like on a 4/4 pattern always in drum and bass, but the kick is on the offbeat when you do a classic two-step rhythm. And again with the snare, you have slightly variations in length and velocity, so it's a slightly different playing of the sample essentially, right? Then I add in some hats, right? So I've got three. This is closed hi-hats. They're going to sit basically on every half a beat, isn't it? So half beat there, and then beat two. So every beat and then every half interval, there'll be a hat. So you'll have one between the first kick and snare, and they all sit on top of the kick and snare. And I'm just using soft hat hits at low velocity. And I've left a gap here because there's other variations of hi-hats that I can use, and I like this one. This is a foot close hi-hat. So it kind of almost gives you a bit of an extra rhythmical kind of pickup. So just if I would play all of the hats just on their own, so it has this kind of like natural rhythm to it now, and there's one over here which is the open hi-hat. So this is at the end of every 2 bars, there's an open one. Okay, nice and easy to follow. Then I just added in a couple of sort of one shots here and there. So we've got a tom, which is sitting on in the second bar on beat 3 exactly. So nice and on the grid and in the beat. And I repeat that on the 4th bar as well, same position. So have a listen with the tom in there now. It's kind of like keeping with the rhythm still. It doesn't like interrupt the flow. So it sort of just adds to it. Then I've got something which is a little bit disruptive even, and that's a snare side stick. So it's a kind of rim shot, and this is on a really, on a sort of quarter of a beat interval, just before the second bar and just before the 4th bar, like one click to the left, So you'll have this little skipping rhythmical aspect. Okay. I put one more one shot in, and this just happens once, and that's a little clap on the 3rd bar at 2.5 beats. Okay. Dum dum da. So it has a little surprise there. Okay, so yeah, so nice little bits of variation in there. Then what I finally did was I added 2 crash cymbals as well, and they're really, really low in the mix. The velocity is really down low. I've put one is a crash on the left and one a crash on the right, which has got a different sound to it, and I play them both together, and I just layer them on top of the kicks always, and they're very, 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 very subtle in the background. But they fit beautifully on the kicks, and they provide this constant background bed for the drums to sit on top of. Almost like this constant background splashy room sound, which is just wonderful, really wonderful in my opinion. So I process them a lot now, but what I have done in the actual drum synth here, on everything, this is quite important. I've adjusted the volumes of things, so I've mixed it already because I'm doing it all on one file, all on one channel. I just wanted to get the dynamics set up just by controlling the volume of everything. So I made sure to start with the kick drum being pretty loud with a sort of plus 6 dB thing here. And then on the snare, it's plus 3 dB, so still nice and punchy, but it's sort of a little bit lower than the kick. The hi-hats sort of turned down a little bit. The toms are turned down a bit. But I just used the volume of the individual drums here. And I played around with the different characters, like different types of kick drums and snares. And went for this middle one, SoCal 2. I used the gain in the instrument to get the balance between everything. So it sounds kind of, everything sits in the right place, Yeah, anyway, now I want to process it all. And remember, if I really wanted to be super expert and get everything perfect, I could strip the kick to one channel, the snare to one channel, process all of the sounds individually, then group them together. But for this video, I just wanted to show you how you could do like a quick and fast acoustic drum break, just like all on one channel, processing it all together. So how to process it all together? Basically going to EQ quite heavily now. Because they're all samples and they're pre-recorded, right? They're going to have lots of areas in the spectrum where they might be missing sort of fullness if you want like a loud sound. So basically I'm boosting up a few spots to go for fullness, right? So lovely boost around 1K, and then another sort of boost around 3.5K. So a lot more clarity and brightness. This one is not in use. I completely didn't need that on there. Then I put a transient shaper on. I shaped everything. I basically took down the sustain of the whole lot by 15%. It makes it all a bit tighter, but the main thing is it gives you more punch because the end parts of the sound are a bit lower in volume. So the first part feels more punchy by comparison. Then I added in some white noise on everything. This sort of digital white noise on the bandpass noise from the kilohertz ring mod, very, very subtly, only 6% or so. Just adds a tiny bit of a white noise fizz onto everything, which helps it cut through the mix a little bit better. And then I sort of gel that back together almost with the original by boosting everything once more with an EQ. Little high shelf boost, and then I did some multi-band distortion. Again, it's subtle saturation in the high end, just over 1K and upwards, driving it all up 3.5 dB and mixing that in. Every adjustment has been subtle and is going for clean, slow, extra clarity and volume piece by piece. Then I just finished off with some mid-side EQing. This is quite important as well, because I really tighten up the low end. Just getting rid of those unnecessary stereo frequencies from the recordings in the low end, sort of below 100 hertz and yeah, that kind of area, 125 hertz even. Yeah, getting rid of that unnecessary stereo rumble. You basically free yourself up a lot more headroom, and you feel like the low end's a bit more tight as well. So after that, I got a clipper and I just boost everything now. I boosted it all 7.5 dB or something. Basically as far as it'll go to where it still sounds dynamic, but loud and dynamic, And there you have it. That's it. This is just one of the sounds from my most recent Serum pack, Dissonance, called the Unsure Futures. I just picked a random one to play a little loop along with it, but you're really focusing in on the drums today, I hope. That was the idea of this video. Do you like my little dancing? Shall I do that on more videos? Basically, thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, because it really helps me out, and I know only half of you are. Thank you very much. If you want any production lessons as well, I teach one-on-one Monday through Saturday. Book in directly via my calendar down below. If you want preset packs for Serum, Vital, Phase Plant or Current, check out my website for those. If you'd like any mixing and mastering work done on your release for your next project, email me, info@artifactmusic.com. And if you want to support me on Patreon, I highly appreciate it as well. We've got great stuff coming up on there in the future, and a lively Discord where you can chat every day and get feedback on your tracks. All right, that's it from me today. More from me very soon. Ciao for now. Much love.